Oh yeah.
Hey! And I didn't do the countdown. I didn't play any intro theme music, but we're live.
So we don't need it.
It's just like the old days we used to do this show. Just
Yeah.
click live in the middle of a
In the
conversation.
middle. Yeah. I almost
Take,
responded to what you said right before you went live. Actually.
take a big bite and then go live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just talking backstage, new comic book day stuff, and I thought, like, that's the show. Like, welcome to New Comic Book Day Book Club. We should just be doing the show, and people can listen to us talk about new books.
I feel like a trend that we have maintained through this show and greatest comic book show ever and a lot of other things is that our best material is done before we go live.
Which is easy to claim, hard to prove.
Well, prove me wrong, people.
Right. There's no evidence for or against this, just our opinion.
Sounds like a lot of things.
Yeah, right. So for those that don't know, this is Alec from Whitewell Comics, and we've been doing this show, New Comic Book Day Book Club, for about 4 years now.
Yeah, that's upsetting.
The fact that neither of us can quit. I can't quit you.
Yeah. No, it's upsetting that like it feels like it's not that long, and so it's just crazy.
Time flies when you're reading mediocre comics. I feel like my Wi-Fi is stuttering here a little bit, so we'll see.
Hopefully, looks fine on my end.
A little jittery, a little shaky. So yeah, this is the show where we, in this era, in this relaunch, each month
reimagining.
We look back at the books from the month prior and have a little discussion. Both of us felt there weren't a ton of issue number ones in January that we felt were really noteworthy or, books that we wanted to spend a ton of time discussing. However, one of my... Sorry.
I was just going to say, typically, like, it seems like that this time of year a lot of times where, like, January is not really, like, a heavy time for new comics.
It's the dregs.
Yeah.
But this month, I did know that the book Blacula by Rodney Barnes and Jason Shawn Alexander dropped. No single issues for this. Nothing you could find on your monthly shelves. Instead, the entire volume, the whole trade came out. This is from Zombie Love Studios, and I definitely wanted to
Rodney
spend some
Barnes'
time discussing it.
Company, right?
Correct. Yes, this is their first publication, as far as I understand.
Yeah, I had not heard of it before.
Yeah, in fact, it was hilarious because on Instagram, while I was chatting with you about the thumbnail, they sent me a message saying, "Hey, if you read the book, Rodney Barnes fans, would you post a little something on your Instagram about it?" And I was like, "Funny you should say this. I'm going live in 3 hours to talk about this book."
Well, if only we had planned better, maybe we could have had Mr. Barnes join us.
I mean, I'm certainly happy to have. He's a very community-friendly gentleman. And tends to be on a lot of channels talking about his books, about his television shows. I was mentioning to Alec that he wrote or was one of the main writers for Winning Time, the basketball Lakers era show on HBO. And he's got,
Which is
movies.
Difficult for me being a Celtics fan.
Well, you are a masshole. What can we say?
Yep.
I on the other hand,
I'm
a West Coast guy, so it's definitely been a lot of Laker love in my family.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So let's say hello to some people in the chat, meaning both of them.
And what two better people you could hardly have?
I mean, there you go. We got Tony, the old wolf, my future roommate, come end of March. Gonna be snuggling down with the old wolf here at the end of March. We got TJ, the Slab Dragon Watson. He says, "I saw Blacula and Cleopatra Jones double feature at a drive-in." I'm assuming that was like last week, right?
That could be.
That sounds about right. I mean, I haven't seen the movie Blacula since probably high school. Have you ever seen it? Did you ever see it?
No, I've never seen it.
Yeah, I was way into horror when I was in high school, and I saw pretty much everything. That was just what I was into. So I was, Faces of Death, you name it. We watched all that
I've seen
stuff.
That. Yeah, for sure.
And then Blacula was on. It made the list at some point. But I
mean, it's
don't
not like
remember
I
it
didn't
existing.
intentionally avoid it. It's just one of those ones that never found its way to my VCR.
Sure. In between some of those Pam Grier Blaxploitation classics too, you know. I was a big Pam Grier fan.
Well, as you should be.
You wonder where my love for Storm came from, right? Do they expect me to sit and watch a 4-hour advertisement for Hyundai? I mean,
I don't know what that's in reference to.
it's probably a commercial at the front of the show because I think I
Oh.
turned monetization on for these shows. I turn it off for certain things and on for other things.
Yeah, because you know I bring the money.
Always. But hey, Toby, you clicked that link for me. It's funny. I did this once so as like a science experiment. I was watching on Perry's channel right after he monetized, and I watched a video of his, and I saw the commercial, and I clicked on every ad, and wherever it sent me, I just went. And then I closed those things out and watched the video. And then he messaged me like the next day. He's like, I don't know what it was, but I got a lot of money from this video. And I was like, I think it's because I
was actually clicking on
the click through got another like 25 cents or whatever for him. So there you go.
Well, we have different ideas of what a lot of money is then.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, for him. What's up, Ben Compton? And hope you're doing all right. Hope things are doing well. Yeah, so Blacula is definitely something we're going to talk a little bit about. You were mentioning we were looking about books maybe for the end of February, and you were talking about the Flash, which I had not heard anything about this. I don't know how it was not on my radar. It's a mini series?
No, it is just like a storyline in the main title. And actually there was a special that came out last week that tied into it, like a one shot. But and I haven't read them yet, but I did pick the issues up the other day. But they're doing an event called the 1 Minute War, where the whole event takes place in 1 minute of real time. But because it's Flash versus other speedsters, you know, it feels like a lot longer to them because they're moving so fast.
Right.
So I just thought that was a really cool idea.
It's creative that I can't believe nobody's ever done it before.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, I'll see what this is about. It might not be any good, but the concept intrigued me enough that I was like, I'll pick up a couple issues and see what it is.
So did that just start dropping then this month?
It was last month. So it was, I think, 790, 791, and then this special. But
gotcha.
I don't know how many issues in total it is, or if that's it.
And they're still 1 a month, not 2 a month, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. I can't keep track with some of the DC ones that are mostly it's the Batman ones, I think.
But I haven't noticed like any real hype or anything around it, so I'm sure you can probably get them pretty easily still.
And I know I've been trying to keep up on the Sins of Sinister stuff. So a lot of I'm on the Marvel side reading the anything Hickman era. I'm trying to keep at least a little bit of an understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, I did buy Sins of Sinister 1, so we could talk about that as well.
Oh, there you go. So what's up, Puff? Haven't seen you in a while, man. How's it going?
So man,
the Savage Dragon. There you go. There you go. And hoping to see you at MegaCon, my good sir.
Oh, he'll be there, I bet.
Yeah. That whole crew, Steve Whiting, everybody. Steve Whiting was just messaging me the other day. So I'm finally making good on the 3 years ago plan of going to the Florida.
Yeah, thanks, COVID.
Hanging out. Yeah, screw you, COVID. So do you want to start with Blacula here?
Yeah, so before we start, I just want to say that the irony is not lost on me that two middle-aged white guys are talking about this. So just get that out of the way.
Yeah, this is fair. But comic books tend to be one of those mediums that it's a lot of middle-aged white guys that buy and read it.
So who else is going to be talking about it?
I mean, that's fair, right? But no, it's a great point because race in most of the things I've read from Rodney Barnes is a significant part about it because he tends to write about America, about history, and usually about the dark fringes of what's going on.
Yeah.
So in that way, it's kind of hard to avoid race.
Sure. And it is definitely an important and complex and nuanced topic to discuss. I just, I think there are people that are probably better suited to talk about that angle of this book than us. That was my point.
Okay. I respect
I
that.
mean, not that I feel like we shouldn't discuss it. I just want to make sure that everyone knows
this is
that
just
it's
one
not lost
sliver
on
of
me
the
that
discussion. Yeah, that's fair. So for those that don't know, Rodney Barnes and Jason, I always try to say Jason Shawn Alexander. Jason Shawn Alexander. They are the duo behind Philadelphia, one of my favorite ongoing indies right now. And then also the Nina Hawes Nightmare blog, or sorry, Nita Hawes Nightmare blog, which is a sort of side story that is in the same universe. So in a lot of ways, if you're a fan of Philadelphia, this is going to feel very much like comfort food in a lot of ways, because it does have a lot of the same looks and vibes going on. That's just like base notes. Plus you're getting a lot of like race in America, history of America, and vampires. That's the crux of both books in a lot of ways. For me, the big difference is Philadelphia has a lot more to do with fathers and sons and like generational trauma. And this seems to be a far more simple linear plot in a lot of ways for me. I don't know if you've read any Philadelphia.
I have not yet. No.
Okay. But Philadelphia just has a ton of characters and a lot of great plots and a lot of different moments in history that it's discussing. This, for those that don't know, this Blacula Return of the King obviously pays tribute to the original film, but also I think wants to build on it with something a little more modern. We have three main kind of stories going on here. We have Blacula himself, coming back from the dead or the undead. We've got Dracula, his creator as a vampire.
And then someone you may have heard of.
Yeah, maybe you heard of him. And then you've got our two human protagonists. We have a young lady journalist named Tina Thomas, and she is on the trail of this mystery of what's going on in LA, people dying, some unusual things going on, and she believes Blacula is at the center of this, the return of Blacula. And you've got Cross, this young gentleman who has had some serious trauma in his life due to vampires, and he is looking for vengeance on his own. And he crosses paths with Tina and feels like they could help each other out on the discovery of what's going on in LA.
Yeah.
Does that feel like the basics?
It's is it LA or?
I thought it was LA.
Well, because maybe it's just because they go elsewhere, but at the end they say something. He says something Watts, about. He says something about how he wants to go back to LA.
Yeah, but they're outside of LA for that bit because they're in the like desert.
Oh, that's right.
Lancaster is where they drive to, out in the desert, like the flatlands of LA, of California.
I mean, the setting is
not. It's all like, Southern California.
The setting is not that important. It's like not a crux of the story.
No, not particularly. The story then follows our characters as they sort of come in contact with one another. There's a lot of like revenge. You've got Cross, who wants to get revenge on Blacula for what happened to his family. You've got Blacula, who wants to get revenge on Dracula for what's happened to him. And you've got sort of Tina caught in the middle of this, who just wants to get to the truth of what's happening here and find out who's to blame for a lot of the people who've been dying or being turned into vampires. Mm-hmm. And that's basically the plot, right? Did I miss anything significant?
Well, there's a whole thing with demons.
Right. As far as like Blacula trying to come back from the dead or undead, which that's part of it I don't quite understand. But
then there's Dracula's little helpers.
Yeah, Dracula's so there's side characters on these characters' quests. But let's dive into it a little bit. Okay. So the book is broken into chapters,
which are basically like issues.
Exactly. And so this basically you could see the 6 comic issues that would have been the story here. We start off with in Watts, and we see this panhandler on the side of the road, and he gets murdered by this woman who is clearly a vampire. And then we jump 6 months later. We got Tina on the trail, and she's learning about these people dying in LA, and she's got questions she wants answered. We also then jump to the graveyard where a slumbering Blacula is stuck in his coffin, and then we see him in the underworld. I'll just swap this a little bit like that. There we go. And the demons that are keeping him trapped in the underworld, even though he wants the revenge, he wants to get away. Tina stumbles upon Cross, and there he is, literally with the cross on his chest. And he seems to know a lot of the truth about the vampires and what's going on. I guess I don't want to read the whole story. This is getting I'm already bored with what I'm doing. But I want to there's nuance here. There's detail here that I don't quite get. I was really confused as to how at the beginning it seems like Blacula is stuck in the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
But then he escapes really easily, and we don't even really see it.
So,
did you get that? I was confused by that.
I have one very big criticism of this that I want to get out of the way.
Do it.
And it is kind of a strange criticism, I guess, but it's that I feel like this story is overly ambitious for the amount of time dedicated to it. Like, this 6 issues could have been 60 issues.
Gotcha.
I just feel like
slow down. You move too fast.
Yeah. And I know that's something I say a lot, but in this case, it's not an issue of pacing. It's an issue of just pure plot and density of ideas. You know what I mean? Especially the first couple chapters, there's so much going on that I kept losing track of what I was reading. It didn't really catch me until the end, where it kind of focused on the Blacula Dracula showdown and everything. At which point, there were scenes and snippets leading up to that I was really invested in, and then it would cut to something else, and I'm like, where am I now, and what's going on? But if this had been expanded to a much longer format, I feel like they could have fleshed out those ideas that the whole thing with the demons, where it was kind of unclear, because I feel like there wasn't really enough time given to him and his escape.
Yeah, and later on we see the demon upset, I can't believe he got away. He owes me. This is not acceptable. But there's still no explanation of how he got away, and that irked me a little bit. But to your point, I did feel quite clearly at the end, when I got to the end, that I wanted more. And not in the sense of I want part 2 to this. It was, I wanted more in here.
Yes. Although
I don't know that I needed 60 issues, but I might have just needed 2 or 3.
Sure. I mean, and it ends with not an ending either.
It definitely sets up there could be a part 2. Right. Not that you need it. I don't know that it needs it.
And I don't mean that you should stretch out these exact pages into 60 issues. What I mean is that the ideas and the plots that have been introduced in this 6 issues have enough meat on them that you could expand the ideas to 60 issues.
Completely.
If this were the only plot, then 60 issues would be way too long. This world that he's created and these characters and everything that's going on to get from point A to point Z in this trade could have been just so much more.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I wanted, again, for me, what it felt like it was needing was two issues of breathing room, 2 issues that gave more detail and fleshed things out, 2 issues that expanded on. I in the end, I still don't know that I feel a ton. I know enough about Blacula in this volume alone.
Right. Yeah.
As a character, I really wanted more from him at the end. By that time I got to the end, I was I felt like I was just starting to get to know this guy.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And which is strange to say, because there is a lot of exposition in this.
Yeah, exactly.
So you should feel like you understand the character more, because he is explaining himself a lot.
But as we've talked about a lot, exposition isn't character, right? Exposition is certainly informational, but it's not going to give you a ton of the character, right? And that's where I felt like I was missing the stuff for him. I felt like I got a lot more from Cross. Chris is the cop that we meet in the one scene. I got more from the personality of Cross, and maybe even Dracula, if we want to get into some of him.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I feel like he is more of a personality than Blacula.
Yes, definitely. For those who don't know, Dracula in this is basically trailer trash. I mean, that's basically the presentation of Dracula.
But it's also like the life he's chosen to live. It's not that he is, relegated to this life. It's that he is just like, because he waxes a lot about immortality, and I think this is just like one thing where he's just like, you know what, I'm just gonna live out in the desert for a while.
Yeah. And he's got a couple of like trailer trash white guys that do his bidding for him, that like go out into the world and bring him food and just basically are trying to bring him Blacula as the story progresses. But it's very much like those are the only white characters in the story, and they're very much it's almost like comic relief in a fun way. That's for me at least.
Except like they aren't that funny. I think like the funniest lines and the funniest parts are just like little quips that people say now and again.
Yeah.
Although one of them, like I really rolled my eyes at, because it was after he slaughters the police officers. And then like two of the cops are like, "Are you going after him? No, are you going after?" Like they have no concern over their fallen coworkers. They're just like quipping about like, "Oh, screw that. I'm not going to mess with that guy." Which I thought was a little out of place, but
I love the Drac has a pet dog, says Tony.
Yeah.
I don't remember the dog, but
he's right at the end, I think, or towards the end.
So as the story goes along, Dracula is looking to prove that that Blacula was like a mistake, that he made him, but he's not really like impressed with him. Blacula is looking to get revenge on being created as a vampire. He is looking to destroy Dracula. Let me get me to that.
There he is.
The pet little doggy.
And his name's Renfield.
Apt.
Yeah. Oh, look at
me. Yeah, we swap sides. So Blacula and Dracula are basically through the whole series are slowly coming head to head, right? That it's all a build up to the big showdown between these two.
Yeah, but I feel like Blacula is a lot more active in that pursuit. Like Dracula just kind of waits for him to show up.
Sure, he knows it, but he knows it's inevitable. He was just waiting for it to happen. Versus Blacula, who has to hunt him down.
Yeah.
Right. But I meant like the plot seems to all be building towards these two.
Certainly.
That's the clear climax, I think, even like in issue 1. Like it seems to be like, okay, the rest of this is going to be getting them to meeting up. Yeah. I'm not super knowledgeable on Jason Shawn Alexander outside of his work with Rodney Barnes, but I will say his work suits Rodney Barnes really well. And I absolutely think he does amazing work here and in Philadelphia. I know that he has this like style that I know isn't for everybody because it's not pretty in the typical sense.
I mean, when you're doing a story about Dracula's,
I mean, right?
I will say though, like I've always enjoyed his work, and I enjoyed it a lot in this. However, I felt like it was strangely inconsistent, not in quality, but in style, where like you have these crazy splash pages like that, which are like really rendered and considered, and then other panels that are just like, minimal lines and. But yeah, I mean, overall, a gorgeous looking book.
I think it's just, yeah, his artwork is for me the highlight of this particular book, versus Philadelphia, which for me the Rodney Barnes Alexander combo, everybody's carrying their weight. This feels like Jason Shawn Alexander is running the show here, and that may be by design in the sense of it's a showcase for him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when you have so many like splash pages and double splash pages that are just like,
yeah,
crazy intense, like, yeah, they're clearly leaning into his abilities to do cool things like that.
Right. Let's see here. Hey, you sitting over there? Oh, get you. I don't know. I can't understand that. Hey, you sitting over there? Come on, get you. All right. Oh, like Dr. Dracula.
Dr. Acula.
Dr. Acula. JP is here. Yeah, you ran late. Now you can't complain about me. What's up, Kenneth Bird? Good to see you. We got Seawood.
Seawood,
what's up, Carson, man? Good to see you. How are things? I totally agree. They work really well together. But this one feels like, this book, at least for me, felt like a showcase for Jason Shawn Alexander, the artist, more than Philadelphia, which feels like it's Rodney Barnes' story, and Jason Shawn Alexander is just bringing life to it. Versus this feels like a Jason Shawn Alexander joint that has, he's been given a framework by Rodney Barnes.
I know this is super nitpicky, and I don't want to be this guy, but I am this guy. So what am I going to do about it? The cover is great. I was bummed to see that it was just reused art from inside the book.
Yeah, and I don't like it as much in the book as I do on the cover
with the text on it.
Yeah, or with the little kid, like, because on the cover there's nobody.
Right.
It's just him, which I like it better this way than with the kid.
With so much awesome art, like it was just kind of like, really, you just reused artwork for the cover? That's kind of a bummer.
I mean, it doesn't irk me too much, but
no, it doesn't irk me either. But it bothered me enough that since we're breaking down this nitpicky, like, I felt it was worth it.
And I'll nitpick
right back. Listen, I know I'm that guy.
Apostrophe RE.
Apostrophe RE, yeah.
Apostrophe RE. So I'll be that guy. I don't know what else to talk about here. I told you, I jokingly texted Alex. I was like, Alec, this is not going to be an hour. And I don't know that I need an hour.
And I said, no one said we have to go an hour. But I mean, I feel like I've been dunking on this a lot, and I don't mean to, because it was enjoyable and it is visually stunning, and like there are a lot of things I liked about it. The fact that I said that, it kind of should have been more, like, is almost a compliment to it, rather than like it's a criticism because of the decision they made to make it this length. But it's a compliment to say that, like, this story I would have read 60 issues of.
And I think that if the worst thing you can say about a comic is that you wanted more, I
mean,
that's a pretty nice
coming from me when I say things are things like a dumpster fire. I've said some pretty cruel things about some creators' works, but if that's the worst thing I got to say about it.
I think if I was going to give it a score, I was thinking this was like an 8 out of 10 for me. Mostly because of the art. I think it just really worked. I will say the first time I read it, I probably was closer to a 7 or a 7.5, but I read it a second time and felt like I enjoyed it a lot more. Specifically, I enjoyed Blacula's few moments when he speaks about his life or his past. That hit a lot harder the second time once I kind of knew the structure of things.
Yeah.
But I did feel like there were so many extra characters. Like there's a scene at a morgue with a cop that we never really see again that I was like, I didn't need that stuff. And I would have loved if that stuff had been replaced by more with the Blacula character, more with Cross and Tina, getting to know them. So that I just felt like I wanted more.
What's his real name? Prince Malamule or something?
Oh, I'm not going to try to pronounce.
But yeah, I mean, he speaking of which, this is referencing both things that we're talking about right now. I agree. I wanted more moments with him, and it kind of bummed me out that like they wasted time with him explaining the same thing to two groups of the kids, because like
what he's trying to do,
right? Like within a couple pages of each other, and like it makes sense logically because so we haven't really talked about the end of the book. The kid, the two groups, Tina and Cross and Cross's gang, find Blacula's lair or like hideout, and Cross and Tina go upstairs and she finds a bathroom and he's in there hiding.
Yeah.
And
great reveal page.
Yeah. And then you know, they end up finding out that like he is trying to kill Dracula, and Blacula kind of like recruits them to help him defeat Dracula.
Yeah.
And in that discussion, he says that, you know, Blacula is kind of not derogatory, but like a name that Dracula came up with to kind of tease him and put him down.
Right.
Because his name is Prince Malamule or whatever, however we pronounce it.
I think it's Mamawalde.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Mamawalde. Yeah. And he explains that to them, and then when he goes downstairs to meet the other kids, he explains that again. And I was like, yeah, of course, like he would in real life, but when I want more moments with the character and the moments I'm getting are two of the same.
Yeah.
And he also says, you know, to both of them, oh, if I wanted you dead, you would be dead already, which was an awesome line the first time. And then the second time I was like, okay, we get it. You're a killer.
Yeah.
So he recruits them, and then they go and find Dracula and he fight, and he becomes the victor, sending Dracula back to hell to talk to the demons who are still trying to hunt to get Blacula back. And Dracula is trying to beg them to let him, you know, send him back to Earth to exact his revenge and kill what he has created, basically, is his selling point.
Yeah.
And the demon, the book ends with the demon saying, we already have someone who's going to go get him. He's a Lycan. So
brings the werewolf
to Werewolves versus Vampires classic, which is kind of set it up for the next issue.
Yeah.
Or the next read, whatever.
Exactly. Let's say hello to some people. We got Marcus in the chat. What is going on? Circumstances. How you doing, sir? Let's see. We also got Krista in the chat. How's it going? Krista, am I freezing? I'm sorry if I'm freezing up. I keep feeling like it's happening, but I can't tell.
Looks fine on my end.
Okay. So
Old Wolf says, there may be other books. Like, I don't know if there will be, but he certainly sets up that there plans to be.
Yeah. The implication being that like they can continue this story with a follow-up volume and go further with the characters. I also feel like it feels like the West Coast version of Philadelphia in that way, that like you have a connected universe almost here where like you got vampires and werewolves and
there's
supernatural
no reason
stuff.
why he couldn't cross them over at some point, or at least like reference them and, you know, have a character pass through one of the stories or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Which could be cool.
Yeah. And again, you know, that Jason Shawn Alexander artwork doing its thing.
He does great cape work.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah. So many shots when like
comically large capes, but
yeah, when they're both battling each other, and it's just like the black cape and the red cape.
Yeah.
You know.
Very cool.
Very cool.
And I wanted that scene to go on longer too, because like every one of those panels was just a feast for the eyes. And I'm like, oh, they're already done fighting. Like I wanted 5, 6 more pages of that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Especially because, like you said, it's kind of built. The whole thing is building up to their showdown, and then it's over in a page and a half. Kind of a
gone too soon.
Yeah, man. I wanted a whole issue of that.
Oh, totally. And again, I think that goes to the thing that was really holding it back for me. It sounds like for you as well was it needed, and I wanted more.
Yeah.
Not sure how many issues more obviously they have constraints on one volume here to print, but I just wanted more.
Yeah, but I mean, I think for me, the longer you can build up that tension of that showdown, the bigger the payoff is. Like, it was still exciting to see the showdown in this, but I didn't feel anything at the end of it because I wasn't invested in that hunt or that quest enough because it was just introduced to me.
Totally.
Again, something like Preacher, where you're waiting the whole time for him to confront God, and when he finally gets to, like, you're like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for 59 issues for, whatever it was. So yeah, I mean, if we had, and I understand, like, this is basically a self-published thing. It's his own company starting off with this book, and he had this idea and he wants to expand this universe clearly, and
yeah,
so he wanted to get all of this in. But again, like I said at the beginning, I think overly ambitious is the way I describe it, because it's just, if they had just given it a little more elbow room, it would have been
breathing room.
So much better.
Wanted to shout out some people in the chat. We had Perry jumping in. What's going on, Perry? How you doing? We got Kachung is in the chat. What is going on, Dave? Good to see you. And we got the House of Nerd show coming in here too. Thanks everybody for coming by. Did I miss Delphia? Was she in here too?
I haven't noticed, but I've been yammering away about my ill-informed opinions.
I would say it's the same one I've gotten. I think our scores are similar, and I think our comment is the main crux of what we're saying is similar. I think,
yeah,
for both.
So when Rodney inevitably watches this, because I know he's a fan, next time, just like let it breathe.
Well, speaking of next time, he's got a new book dropping this week. So for those that don't know, Image Comics issue number 1, Monarch, from Rodney Barnes, just dropped this week. His new supernatural thriller just came out. So if you're looking for more Rodney Barnes, if you missed out on Philadelphia and your shop doesn't have it or you can't find it, which means you haven't searched, but it's out there, check out Monarch as well, which came out this week. I'm excited to read this. This was the only indie that I picked up this week, if you count Image as an indie, and I still do.
And Delphia is here.
Is she? Did I miss her? Where's she at? DK! Hello. On the big screen. Oh, dang. I don't think anybody needs that.
Now crack your television.
I know, right? I also wanted to mention that, to your point of, I think the concept I felt like you were trying to talk about there was suspense. And I think suspense makes stories, because when you're sitting on that edge of your seat, looking forward to, I don't know what's going to happen next, but I know something big is coming. That's what draws you a little closer to the page or a little closer to the screen and connects you to what's happening, right? You care what's happening. And I think I needed a little more of that. And that's that investment that I think you were mentioning. But at least that's how I took it.
Yeah, I mean, you call it suspense, I call it edging, whatever.
Welcome to John's Comics with Kids. Image is the very definition of indie, no matter how big they get. And I've always felt like if it's creator owned, like Image is, then that's kind of making it an indie book publisher, right? Did I miss anybody else? Already heard one good review for Monarch. There you go. I'm excited to read it. And I obviously love Nita Hawes and Philadelphia, so I'm obviously invested in the Rodney Barnes connected world. You only watch us on the big screen.
Oof.
This explains a lot.
Yeah,
explains a lot. Did you want to highlight any other books from the month that you felt like were noteworthy or important to mention on your side?
I didn't read anything.
No. At the beginning, you're like, "Yeah, I'm getting into DC and I'm trying out all these things."
Well,
I've
been buying them and planning on reading them, but right now my comic room is such a mess. I've been trying to reorganize it that I don't have a space to really read comfortably. So.
I will say I'm definitely keeping up on the Sins of Sinister, and I've been trying to drop little 1-minute reels here on YouTube. They're not reels here; they're shorts, just to like talk about a lot of the stuff going on there. So I've read the new Storm book that came out today, and got a lot of stuff to talk about that. So I will definitely be making some shorts on some stuff there, because I've already had like 4 or 5 people message me on Instagram. Who's this character at the what happened? Can you explain this? I don't understand. Not a good sign for a comic when you have that many people confused. But they do pull the villain reveal ish, and people needed some questions answered. But I also read Sins of Sinister issue 1, which I thought was a real fun issue 1 event book. It reminded me a ton of Hickman, so like the House and Powers stuff. So if you are a House and Powers fan, this is definitely a storyline. I think Kieran Gillen does a good job of doing his version of Hickman. And I think they're definitely worth the time. If you liked House and Powers, I would say read Immortal X-Men, which Kieran Gillen did for 10 issues and just finished, and then try Sins of Sinister 1, because I think you'll get a lot out of it. I really enjoyed it.
Circumstances had a very funny comment.
The statement, planning on reading them, is a personal attack on me, and I don't appreciate it. Reading piles, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. It's ridiculous.
That's why...
You mean reading short boxes.
Well, that's why I moved to the buy multiple covers. And so I'm still buying the same amount of comics, but I only need to read like 3 or 4. I just bought 6 issues or 8 issues. I just bought 2 of all of them. It's just spreading my money in a different place where now I only have to read half the books I buy.
Yeah, support cover artists, not creators.
I very much enjoyed Blacula. I thought it was stellar. Elite art, great storytelling that hooked me. There you go. And our big complaint was that we just needed and felt like we wanted more. And the thing that kept it from being top tier was a feeling that things were rushed and there was so much crammed in and not enough breathing room given to everything. So to help you out, Dave, I made a playlist. You can just click it and start at the beginning and just power through. They're all 1 minute long. I mean, it's in 10 minutes you'll have watched all of them. That's the benefit of it.
Okay, influencer.
I am. I don't know what I'm influencing people to do. Watch more of my videos. I don't know that I get any money off of any of the shorts, so it doesn't really matter. It's more just like I want to talk about X-Men with people. I think that's it. Not a lot of issue number 1s this week. I bought Poison Ivy. So I got, was that Stan Mora's cover upside down? There you go. Got some Poison Ivy to read. I got Daredevil, and I think besides Monarch, the only other book I read was Storm. So that was 4 comics to read.
I didn't go to the shop yet because I overslept this morning. So, you know.
I mean, I told you this would be a shorter episode, so here we are.
But hey, we still made it 45 minutes. That's, you thought it was going to be 20.
I'm just stretching. I'm stretching.
Yeah. What they should have done with this book.
There you go. We don't need more breathing room though.
No, we need much less.
As for this channel, I'm sorry if anybody's been tuning in for Saturdays and sad that we haven't been there. Soccer season, man. I'll tell you, we had to get up at 4:30 in the morning this last Saturday and drive an hour and a half to Charlie's game down in like near San Diego. It is brutal. The good news was they had a breakfast burrito truck, and I got a breakfast burrito and a coffee, and I just sat on the sidelines and got fatter and watched Charlie play soccer. But it has meant there's very little energy or motivation to like do a Saturday show because we're never here on time to do it. And it's going to happen again this Saturday. We're going down to San Diego doing it all over again. So I'm sorry. The Saturday show has been a little bit inconsistent. But thank you all for being patient with us. Now that I'm a soccer dad full time and a volleyball dad, it's just tricky to get the girls up on a Saturday when they're like, we can sleep in this weekend. Why are we doing it? Yeah, I try. There's no benefit to winning in club soccer. Like, who cares? But
you feel good about yourself?
It is elite. I agree.
I mean, she's the goalie, right? She could throw the game.
She is the goalie. I have a dozen issues on my desk from to unbox from eBay. Ooh, congratulations. That's exciting. Alec overslept. It's amazing.
Yeah, I usually don't. It was weird weird morning.
Not sure what I'm paying for here, but whatever. But do soccer get thing, I guess. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just she likes it. Kate likes her volleyball. I want to encourage all that, but it means you lose. You folks don't get more YouTube. What do you expect? By Merlin's beard, I never knew John was a fan of sports. I'm not a fan of sports. I'm a fan of my daughters. And even that, I put fan in air quotes probably. I am usually the guy who's reading a comic book on the side of the field while they're playing.
And you hear the crowd scream and you kind of, hey, all right.
Yeah. I don't want to get too focused on the game because then I get too involved emotionally in what's happening. If I'm reading a comic book, I can be a little more. So as long as she is enjoying the soccer, it's worth it. Yes. That is yes. That's it. That's the core crux of it. That's the whole it right there.
She wear the big gloves.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they're not like Mickey Mouse clown gloves kind of thing, but they're definitely big. Volvo driving soccer mom. It's a song. Okay. I drive a Toyota, but okay. It is a minivan. I've driven a minivan since high school though. So like during high school, I've got my first Chevy Astrovan, and then it was like, I've had minivans ever since. Yep.
Is that a double entendre?
I'm just going to say, yeah. The answer is yes. Family time in the car is true. And we drive 9 hours to Utah every year just to prove that. And the girls now have phones. So it's like, hold on. All right. We're going to get out of here. Alec, do you have anything coming up that people need to know about? Are you jumping on to any indie shows? I know we got D&D on Sundays.
No, not this Sunday. It's Super Bowl.
Yeah, not this Sunday. But I didn't know if you had anything going on.
No, I got nothing.
Yeah, I did, Marcus. Yeah, I did. And I could drive before most of the kids in my grade. I turned 16 in the summer, and I was driving the whole year.
I had a station wagon. My first car was a station wagon.
Shaggin' wagon. There you go.
Yeah.
So I was
not so shaggin' wagon.
Built different is right. You do Super Bowls every day, Perry. Yes, you do.
Super bowels.
Ouch. Let's get out of here. Thanks everybody for coming by, and we'll see you at the start of March. We'll talk about February books.
2 weeks.
I'll definitely give you a breakdown of Monarch, and that'll happen over on Alec's channel and the links down below. So make sure you're subbed up. Bye, gang.
Bye.